Greetings. Welcome to this special edition of, we just started these YouTube broadcasts a couple nights ago. We thought no better time to get going again with the big reveal today. New Nike uniforms for UCF. I'm Brandon Helwig. I'm the publisher of UCFsports.com. I am privileged and honored to be joined by John, who's, I think you know him better by his Twitter name, UCF Uniform Tracker. He's developed quite an interesting niche the last few years, monitoring and tracking, obviously, all the uniform combinations and kind of keeping tabs of the pulse. Welcome, John. Glad to have you.
Hey, good afternoon. Happy Friday.
Yeah. Great. We're going to be joined by a special guest around 3 o'clock. We're going to have Jimmy Skiles from UCF Athletics, assistant athletic director of brand enhancement. He's been in marketing. He's really a UCF lifer. I've known Jimmy for a long time. He was a student at UCF back in the day. He knows everything about UCF, the history, where the programs come from, because he's been there every step of the way, and it's really cool under his leadership just to kind of see how UCF has kind of evolved and emerged as one of these innovators of jerseys and just everything else, with Eric DeSalvo, obviously, that does such a great job with social media. So we're going to talk to Jimmy for a few minutes at 3 o'clock. There's a Charge on tour later this afternoon in downtown Orlando at the A's Cafe, so we can't keep him too long, but we're going to talk to him a little bit. So, John, just kind of before we talk to Jimmy, just kind of wanted to get your initial thoughts. Everyone, it's the anticipation been building up all summer with the new uniforms. This is the jerseys that UCF had been wearing out were the ones that when Frost got here in 2016. So it was time for a refresh. What are your initial thoughts when you saw those things unveiled shortly after 10 a.m.?
Yeah, it was an exciting day. It's been about probably a year, culmination of about a year of thinking and planning and pondering and wondering what things were going to look like after the new rollout. So really excited to actually see what we were going to have on the field for at least the next 2 years. A few surprises in there. The talk had been, hey, we're going to see two uniforms. Black and gold is going to be the highlight. And even Terry, I think Terry leaked on the thing earlier today on the Twitter Spaces that it's like, oh yeah, someone leaked that we're getting rid of pewter, getting rid of anthracite. And funny enough, he was the one that actually leaked that and confirmed that. So it's funny to hear him remember that. But excited to see the second black jersey. I think that threw everybody for a curveball for sure. And the new number font was the other thing that really jumped out to me. Was not expecting that. I think we're pretty well established with the current or the previous number font, and obviously that proliferated to most of the other sports on campus. So was not expecting to see new numbers. So excited to see that as well. But I think overall excited about the refresh. I think it echoed what a lot of the sentiment was earlier. It's like an evolution, not a revolution. So tweaking, just slight tweaks to what had been a classic look, almost universally loved and applauded. So far, a majority of the feedback I've seen, both on Twitter, on the message boards, even on Reddit, have all been really positive. So I think they hit the mark on this one, and I think it puts a good exclamation point to like, hey, now we're really time for football season. Like, even though we think these things are fun and we focus a lot on it, it's a good distraction when it's not football season. Now football season's back, and it's I think now we're ready to start focusing on the games and the squad and getting into it.
Talk to me. When did you have you always kind of had a passion for uniforms and jerseys? Is that something that maybe came when UCF in 2016 kind of modernized their look? Kind of talk about your background and history, kind of how you got into it and why you decided to start the Twitter account UCF Uni Tracker.
Yeah, sure thing. So I mean, I would say it's always been a passion. I mean, even going back to like high school days and playing football in high school. And back when the NCAA video game was still a thing, and being able to customize all the jerseys in the video game. And I remember, at least it was common at our school, and I imagine most kids did this. You go recreate your entire roster, every single person. The faces match, the skills match, the numbers match. You create your jerseys. So that's kind of always been a passion of mine. I enjoy and like graphic design and kind of unis as well. I've been a longtime follower of the UniWatch blog and Paul Lucas and a lot of the stuff that he does. So it's always been an interest of mine. Even going back to when I was a student So I was class of 2009 at UCF. And so I remember the initial change to getting rid of the golden, the new stack logo, and that whole process. And I actually remember going to the bookstore back in the day, because that's like when they launched the day they launched the new brand identity and the new logos. I think the way that they did it was like, hey, we're going to have new helmets at the bookstore. And that was the first time people got to see it. And you got to see the poster with like the big, huge face mask helmet that they had back then. And so always been following it since then. Created the account, a little bit over 3 years ago now. I'd seen a couple other bigger schools start to have similar accounts. Oregon had been doing it forever. Tennessee and Alabama and Ole Miss and some other accounts have had Tracker accounts, and they all started to pop up, probably 2018, 2019. And so decided to jump in, start keeping track, and, using my consulting skills to build out some spreadsheets and some PowerPoints and track it all out and post the numbers each week. And, I always thought to myself, like, hey, I wonder what our analytics are like when we wear this or when we wear that. And, it's all, there's always urban legend of like, hey, Georgia always loses whenever they wear black. And I'm like, is that really true? And so trying to take that same approach to actually keeping track of the numbers and keeping track of the math. So to see how we perform with each thing. And I think it just adds a little extra dimension of analysis and excitement to see what we wear. And I love how we've embraced the changing them every week and kind of the build up to announcing what uniform we're going to wear every Thursday. It adds just an extra dimension. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, before we welcome Jimmy here in a few minutes, I'm trying to play around this. I'm new with this platform. I'm trying to share different images. I had compiled some classic, UCF uniforms dating back to, I guess, the early 2000s, and this is obviously Ryan Schneider. This was the Russell athletic look. I guess these they call those like the Aztec sleeves and collar. I'm not sure what they called those, but this is actually a really sharp look. Honestly, I don't think UCF had anything this attractive until 2016. What are kind of your thoughts on maybe some of the retro looks that we're looking at right now?
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely love the collar. Just a really great touch. Yeah, I love the 3D effect of the mesh numbers as well. Even though they're not like a true embroidered number, it still has that kind of two-tone look. So love the way that pops up. And, I love a lot of the new helmets and some of the way the new Riddell Speed Flexes and look, but it is nice seeing like the old school, like Michael Vick style helmet on Ryan Schneider there. And then even this bigger bike helmet with like the classic linebacker face mask. I kind of miss those a little bit. But, those were probably, I would agree, until our modern era, those are definitely our best classic look for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely a look. And then here's another look. That's Javier Borleghi. Obviously had the game-winning field goal at Alabama back in 2000. Here's another one.
Oh, man. I wish more players wore neck rolls still.
Yeah, that's kind of old school. There's another one of Ryan Schneider back from 2003 era. That's Stephen Moffitt's sporting that too. Yeah,
that might be from my freshman year right there.
yeah. Here we go. It's Alex Haynes. It's the Russell. Yeah, that really was the best look. There's another one done. Travis Wilcox, running back. And now what we're looking at right here is this was the first official jersey reveal that I can remember. This was back in the summer of 2004. That was when George O'Leary first got here. It was the first year UCF had the agreement with Adidas, and they invited media to come out to the Wayne Dinch. I think it was only about a year old, the facility, and Alex Haynes and Atari Bigby modeled the new Adidas uniforms. That was back in 2004.
Yeah. And, even looking back now, there's still pretty good looking, and probably better than most of what the modern Adidas uniforms look like these days. I was always surprised. The one thing that always drew my attention to these uniforms were the way they had like the upper shoulder stripe panel in gold. Basically, it was like a knockoff of the USC jerseys, which were made by Nike, but these Adidas ones we had basically had the same kind of upper shoulders sleeve stripe. But yeah, that's a good look too. The gold numbers on the white jersey never popped. I know that was at least for all the TV commentators and those guys always complained.
I think that was George O'Leary, I think, had a pretty big role in that. He wanted the numbers to be difficult to see from the opposing coaches up in the coaches booth. So when someone's substituting in on a sunny day when the sun is glary, you can't see who's in there. So it was difficult for fans to see and difficult for coaches. But I'm pretty sure that was George O'Leary's preference.
Yeah, this was like pre-HD era on TV too, so it was always hard.
Yeah. I think that's the last of the Adidas look, and then we all kind of know we don't have time to rehash why UCF went from Adidas to Nike, the whole Marcus Jordan situation back. I think that was 2009. But this here is 2010 season. I believe it was the first that UCF went to Nike. And this look was kind of, from what I understand from back then, was kind of a recycled look. I think Tulsa and Miami, maybe mid 2000s, basically had this exact same look, just different colors.
Yeah, so yeah, Miami had a very similar design for a few years at kind of the end of the Ken Dorsey era, with that kind of bib that I think they called it. I actually really like these. It was kind of the first time we really went with like the jumbo size numbers. And a lot of good memories go along with these jerseys for me. I still picture Jeff Godfrey in them every time I see him. So I enjoyed these for sure.
I mean, you remember, you've been around. I mean, how jacked up everyone was when they went to Nike. I mean, players care about it. I remember Jeff Collins, who's now the head coach at Georgia Tech. He was an assistant under George O'Leary in those days. And I remember him telling me he was so excited. He's like, oh, players love Nike. We're going to Nike. This is going to be huge for recruiting. Get your chili hot. So he was really excited about it. And this is the next jersey reveal. These are a few pictures. This was back in May of 2013. That was when there was going to be a refresh of the initial Nike jerseys. This obviously was going to go on to be a memorable year. But this was a memorable jersey reveal. This was basically like a coach's tour. It was called the Hometown Huddle. It was held on campus at UCF, and that's UCF's former equipment manager, Robert Jones, showing off. This was what the jersey was going to look like.
Yeah, and what's funny is with the whole like 3D metaverse reveal today, I remember that they had a similar like computer generated 3D model of these new uniforms as well. So, kind of ahead of our time back in 2013, and then kind of the next version of the 3D reveal today. But those are great jerseys too. I think, and probably Jimmy would probably know better. I see you join now. I think this is back when we went to the newish number font, and I think these were the same as Michigan State. And then it wasn't until the next iteration where we kind of flipped the serif from one side to the other, where it kind of took a little bit of a different feel.
Welcome, Jimmy. I see you popped on. Before you came on, we were just kind of reviewing the history of UCF uniforms, and we had started off in the early 2000s. Then we went to Adidas with the first iteration of Nike, and now we're just kind of taking a look at 2013. And this was a jersey reveal I think it was called the Hometown Huddle in May of 2013, and that's Robert Jones. He was showing off the gold. Let me go to the next one. He's and that was George O'Leary from that event. He had these 3D modeling, and he was showing off the helmets. That's kind of an infamous moment in UCF history. It was kind of like it was going to be this helmet, but then it was going to be this color, and everyone I remember was so jacked up for that USF game at the end of the year, thinking UCF was going to be in all black, and it never happened. But here's another look of those 2013. That I guess kind of like the second generation Nike uniforms. That was prior to the Penn State game, one of the most memorable road games. There's Storm Johnson running away from Penn State. That was a really sharp look, and I think that might have been the home opener that year. But and that's we were talking about. That's the USF game, War on I-4 in 2013. What kind of it's kind of welcome, Jimmy. Thanks for having us. Big day, exciting day. All of us probably were listening to you earlier, and Eric and Emma and everyone and Brad talking about on the Twitter Spaces. That was a great thing you guys did. Just, I guess, first of all, can you just kind of tell us how you got to today? Is this a process that's taken a year, 6 months? Just kind of give us a brief rundown of how you got to the point of developing a jersey. I know you're maybe still waiting to get them to come over, to get them shipped over, but how long did this process take?
The conversation always kind of, you guys can hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Cool.
Thanks.
You're always thinking about what's next and when's the right time. Like, obviously we've had such great success in the current look that we in 2016 when the last iteration rolled out, that was obviously an exciting time. And I remember on the random Tuesday or whatever it was when we just dropped those out of the blue. Nobody knew it was coming, and all the different uniform combinations, and that was such a big day because it was so far from just kind of the the templated Nike approach of like what you're showing in the previous.
Yeah, no, we're back to the 2016 look. I was trying to remember. Did you guys didn't do like a proper reveal? You just kind of dropped them on social media. Is that how you did it back then?
Yeah. If Eric was on here, he'd probably be able to tell you the exact date. But we built out the microsite that had all the different combinations. Carlos Phillips, who was our designer at the time, literally took every single combination of helmet, pant, and jersey that we could do. And
I've seen that. I think I saved that. I might have it here in a second.
Yeah, we knocked out a lot of those over the last few years. So you're always thinking about what's next, and you think of where our brand has come from those days of like you had 2016 and the Frost era begins, and then what happens in 2017 and 2018, and what a lot of the college football world knows of. Whether it's just a split second and the intro to college game day or whatever, that this is kind of our look. Sometimes we have to like pause for a second. Wait, was that Colorado or was that UCF? We've known for a while that we didn't want to change anything drastic right now. Just to feel like, again, we have a good thing going as the Big 12 stuff happens, and that's around the same time that we knew that we were staying with Nike for another 2 years. So Terry was big on, these are going to be the jerseys that we go to the Big 12 in, and it's got to represent who we've been, but also who we want to be. So the timing of everything, of the new Nighthead coming on board with that, we wanted to bring in the Polaris star that comes from the Pegasus logo, and that it's really hard to merge medieval and space into one.
So that was something you were trying to do. You were trying to merge, because some people were thinking that maybe it's a little bit less medieval, like the sword edge elements maybe were a little bit muted down, and it's kind of futuristic in terms of the digits being used. So that was something you were intentionally going for.
Well, that was more for the Nighthead design of getting the Polaris star that's in the Pegasus logo into the Nighthead on the collar. But the number font was this was Nike did this for us. It was basically a reverse of the Michigan State font that was out there. It did sort of mimic the Knights font that's our word mark that's in the end zone. But the bad part about this font is you couldn't do much with it. We tried to make like the last names work on the nameplates and stuff like that. And it was too heavy of a font. So you guys probably heard Emma talking about the design process earlier of a font that's actually custom to us. She created the font. And there are some digits, like if you look at the pictures of Josh and that we put out of the 88, some harder points to it. Obviously it's tougher to see in maybe in like a 22 or a number 1, but there's some numbers that have a little bit still the pointier edges. But yep, definitely an update there. And it's been a really early last football season was when we got into really putting together mock-ups, because that's when these things have to be ordered.
Right.
It's about the fall to these season priors when the uniform orders have to go in.
Was doing the reveal the way you did with the 3D modeling and showing the players and kind of having them do that's unique. Is that an innovative thing that you guys did? I don't know if I've seen that happen before. That was really cool.
Yep. So Skylar, who's on our team, she's in motion, all in motion graphics. They brought up, hey, how about we unveil these uniforms in the metaverse? And so that experience, it'll be hosted online eventually, where fans will be able to do what the players were doing, of walk into a virtual locker room, take a look around, go look at that. That is a thing that we actually wanted to have ready to go today.
Of course.
Unfortunately, it didn't all work out. But that's going to be a cool experience that people will get to do eventually, because it's a really awesome deal how you can go to a college football team in the future, walk into the metaverse and have a 3D, I guess, immersive experience of walking in and seeing all these different uniform combos.
John, did you have something you want to ask?
Yeah, I was going to say, I dropped a comment in the spaces. Have you guys already got those 3D images over to the EA folks on the other side of town, just to make sure we get them ready for the new game next year?
I don't think that they've asked us for uniform artwork yet. We've got a lot of stuff over to them. to EA. But I don't think that I may be wrong, but I don't think we've sent over the uniform artwork yet. That it's gotten to that point, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that game.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I'll have to get the new PlayStation sometime between now and next fall.
Yeah.
So this is a font that you guys own and control, as opposed, I think you called it inverted Michigan State. So that's important for your purposes too. So I'm assuming we'll see this font used in, graphics and things like that going forward. This is something that you produce in-house.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't expect that we don't plan on like a Knights logo or anything to be in this font, but just the type that we use, again, throughout facilities and stuff. If you look at some of the new Go Knights, Charge On type word marks that have come out are in a type of this font. And again, the last names on the back, it just brings all together. Instead of using a kind of a generic collegiate font on the nameplates, it's pretty difficult. I think Emma mentioned this earlier, or Brad mentioned earlier, for schools to have a font that makes sense that they can also use on the back. I think you think of even back in the early 2000s that Miami font.
Right.
They never really used that for last names. Like I can picture how it said Canes and stuff like that. But it's tricky to have a font that can be universal like this. But we got one that for now and for some stuff we're using will be good.
How much involvement does the head coach, Gus Malzahn, does he have in this process? I know every coach can be different. I remember back in the day, George O'Leary was very big on the stacked logo and maybe was as big of a fan of the Nighthead. So if you ever went to the football facilities, you only saw the stacked logo. You never saw the coaches wearing anything with the Nighthead. But does he have involvement? You could just kind of, clear the designs with him, or how much is he involved in this process?
Yeah, he saw him. He's if the kids like him, if recruits like him, he's gonna like him. So not as maybe involved as what George would have been, but they all obviously went across his desk. But if the players and the recruits like him, he's on board.
I'd like to ask you about the space uniform. Obviously, I know that's going to be a separate reveal. I know that it's the Temple game, I believe, in October. Yep. Is that going to be maybe a couple weeks in advance of that? Is that, because I know you guys usually like to go down to Kennedy Space Center and kind of do that. Is that probably the same sort of plan for this year?
Yep. A few weeks prior, we'll roll that out. Hopefully with a lot of the merchandise that'll come out, as well as the same time with the space uniform itself. So yeah, I expect early October. I mean, obviously the game's October 13th.
Right.
So, and early October of that rollout.
I think some of the most exciting news from today, I think you revealed on the Twitter Spaces earlier about Fanatics, how we had kind of known they're going to have jerseys at some point. I know they're not available now. Can you kind of share what Fanatics will have available? And I think you can customize them too. And you also dropped a huge nugget that replica space uniforms from previous years may also be available. What can fans expect on Fanatics in the coming weeks and months?
Yep. So the replica space uniforms of the previous years will be rolled out, which is that was actually something we tried to have happen last year, because last year was the 5th anniversary of the space game. Thought that'd be a great time to go back and sell them all, but it was very hard to track down with all the COVID stuff going supply chains. That was not going to happen. So we got it taken care of for this year. And then from regards to the new uniforms, what we'll call the classic black ones are going to be the ones that are going to be able to be customized. And yeah, that one right there.
That one. Okay. Right.
Yeah. So people will be able to go in and pick their, pick Bowser, pick O'Keefe, they can customize it with Hellwig on the back. So those should be up. I'm guessing Fanatics is waiting to roll that out all at once. The customize there's about 30-ish schools that were selected. 30-ish of the top selling schools that were selected to be a part of that. So we're in that, and I was looking yesterday just to see if they had unveiled that for anybody's yet. Like Alabama and Clemson, however, you can customize it with your name, but not the players' names yet. So I think they're waiting for one big rollout.
There's
And
obviously
Jimmy,
a big. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, I know we're obviously big supporters of NIL and Gus, especially with all the players' shirts he's always wearing. Remind us, doesn't that new program with Fanatics, if you say choose to get an O'Keefe for a Bowser jersey, that some of those proceeds go back to the guys, right? That's part of the big benefit in this partnership as well.
Yep, it's the same. It's from what I understand, it's the same cut basically of like how it works with the NFL. So the players opt into the program, and we have most of the team. We have most of the team all opted in, and so they'll go in and they'll get a cut of that from an NIL space, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Can you talk about, I guess, give us your thoughts before today? What's been your favorite UCF uniform combo? Is there a game, a style, a combination with the helmet and jersey that kind of sticks out in your? I know there's a lot to choose from. What's kind of been your favorite uniform ensemble the past few years?
So the game day game versus Cincinnati, gold helmet, black was maybe my favorite. That and the Peach Bowl, not just because they're big games. I think that those just they just screamed UCF. Like there was no confusion. There was no you saw it. That was just the most on brand for us. But I'm a sucker for more of the road combos, the different white.
There's some clean looks.
Yeah. Think we wore that East Carolina one year, like gold, white, black, gold helmet, white jersey, black pants. Was a good look. But I was a sucker for of the old previous years. The white jerseys I just thought were clean. They were my favorite.
Yeah, and I think Brad touched on it in the Twitter Spaces. You are going to have more than one helmet. I guess that's the plan this year, right? And is the black going to be a little bit of a different hue, or maybe more matte, or do you know what he was alluding to?
Gosh, I wish I could remember. There's a equipment color word for like the type of black it is. So it's a little bit of like a darker black that it'll be. And so with the chrome logos, we'll still be swapping out decals and stuff like that. So it's the black helmets, gold helmets, white helmets, all in the mix.
And so how cool is it just kind of working for this athletic department and just being at the front of everything that's innovative, jerseys, social media, branding? UCF's come a long way.
Yeah, I think what's fun about it is we have a fan base that accepts it, and not even accepts it. That this is people are as excited as they are about this today, and then have been counting down the days for this announcement today, because that's not like that at every school. You change one little thing about a uniform at some of these traditional schools, and you got people calling in upset and angry. And what I love about our fan base is how you guys out there just love this, and we are able to change some things and try new things, and we're able to have one game a year that we just go completely off the wall, and everybody is just okay with it. That is obviously, we know with college sports where things are very traditional and this and that, it is we're very blessed at UCF we can do this because the fan base allows it, and the fan base again is hungry for it, instead of just having to just roll out the same two uniforms every week.
Yeah, who kind of gets credit for this? I know it's a collaborative effort between everyone. I know Emma Schneider was on the Twitter Spaces earlier. Is she kind of does the nitty gritty work of putting the pen to paper or doing the online work to kind of complete these renderings?
Emma's got the toughest job because she's got to hear what we all think, including Terry, including people from football, and then try to make what all of our thoughts are and putting it all together. So she has the toughest job there. So this night mode jersey, we actually referred to it originally as the Timo.
Okay.
For Terry, because he was adamant about he wanted one jersey. He was all on board with you're right, we can't have this isn't the time to change up our look drastically. People know what UCF looks like. People like our uniforms now. There's no need to totally disrupt a good thing. But his one request was that we did have this black jersey that was just all black and gold. Call it like a color rush type uniform, but no white on the uniform, just a black and gold, and just have fun with it. So that's obviously the new Nighthead coming in on the sleeve. And I think this is the one that when the players saw it, you know, they loved it. And you know, this one would only be worn with black jersey, gold helmet.
Okay.
Or it could be worn with gold pants as well.
Okay, so the gold pants, I don't know if they were part of these renderings, but I know you guys announced that they definitely are back.
Yeah.
What was the player reaction? I know did you have some of them? Did some of the players model them? We saw some of the pictures. Did they see them last night? I took it in a team meeting. Is that what you understand happened last night?
No, we actually showed it to the players.
Back in May, right? The renderings, though, right?
Yeah, it was kind of these like what you have up now. We went with the team. We went through the team back in May, and you know the classic black and white. So just kind of like, all right, you know, because there wasn't much different when just looking at the renderings. But then when the night mode one went up, that's where they started going, ooh, you know, getting into it.
So like I know people are always asking. I know that you were being asked in the Twitter Spaces. People want to buy new merch. I know some of it's been trickling out. People always want to know. They want Nike. They want Nike polos, the sideline polos. Everything else is there an update? I mean, I know the season's gonna be here in less than 3 weeks. Is that something you're hoping that any day now Fanatics is going to get that drop?
Yeah, it should. I know the bookstore is slowly starting to get it, and you know they open up the boxes and try to get it out on the racks immediately because they know. It's just that time of year. And last year there was so few of it that actually arrived. And so if you actually notice the coaches polos for this year across Nike are actually, I think, the same that they were last year because so few schools actually got the product that was ordered last year. So that you'll see it's like a cut. There's a V that kind of comes down on kind of what the coaches polos are, the sideline polos for this year. Yeah, that stuff's going to start coming out here. You know, every day I go on to Fanatics just to see what else. Because you know, we don't athletics doesn't control the inventory or
right.
the design of what is on there. So I'm on there just as interested too to see what is dropping kind of each day or what's been updated. But I do know it's coming. There was the questions about hats yesterday. I did get some follow-up from Fanatics that they have 25 different new styles of hats that will be hitting over the next month and a half or so. But sometimes their hands are just as tight of like, we've ordered it, we've bought it, it's on its way over, and we're just waiting for it to arrive to put up on the site. So.
Yeah, those jerks on Twitter were a little bit all over yesterday, huh?
Yeah, that script logo that you guys have been implementing more and more. I know it kind of went through a tweak, a redesign in the last year. Is that we're going to see? I know we've seen. I think maybe Flowgrown might have incorporated that. Are we going to see that maybe within some Nike? I know the team has their different set of stuff that they get that's designed in house. Is there a chance maybe we see more of that for fan merchandise?
Definitely merchandise in general. It's on our logo sheet. So again, we don't.
Right. You don't make, it's up to the other companies to decide what they want to manufacture.
Yeah, whether it's the Nikes or the Champion or the, any of the, like the Target brands that are putting, they're the ones actually designing the stuff. And there's a licensing unit on campus that just approves to make sure that the logos are correct and that, they didn't, change the colors of the stacked logo to green and gold or do the things that we wouldn't allow. So they approve the logos, but we don't actually, see the stuff of what's coming in. So it is on the script logo is on our approved logo sheet. And two, when we did the new Nighthead last year, so the orders for like next fall for our first season in the Big 12,
right,
for the most part, are being done now.
Okay, wow.
Is how it works. So that's how we're trying to, right now we're working on like trying to find if we're going to have like an inaugural season in the Big 12 type logo. to get that finalized, to get on stuff, because the orders, usually it's by like late October, early November, that orders have to be in for the next football season of like the main stuff. So we that's what the whole hold up on night heads and script logos and stuff like that last year. That's why we unveiled that logo. Why we did is because we wanted to control the launch of that logo, and not that just all of a sudden somebody sees that logo on a logo sheet and it's like, wait, is this a new Nighthead?
I don't know if you remember, but I think that happened in 2007. There was like a mouse pad, or there was something. You were trying to build it up to have a certain date that it was going to be released. And I think it was either on the copyright website, or I remember seeing a mouse pad at Office Depot that I think might have kind of scooped it with like the full on body batter up nitro that people like to see.
Yeah, I remember that day because I was a student. I had just graduated from UCF. And obviously I was excited to see what the new logo was. And the first time that at least I saw it, obviously it wasn't on social media, but it was, I forget. No, we had Facebook back then. Maybe it was on Facebook. It was a black and white version of like the batter up logo.
Yeah,
was the first time I saw it. And to be honest, we have been nervous about the jerseys being leaked.
Really?
Because that artwork was sent to Nike even really before we were completely, because it was a little late. I think it was about last December that we submitted for the replica jerseys. We had to get it submitted for it to be part of this year's order.
This program that they're doing with the names.
So I've been a little bit nervous this whole time that like it was gonna. Same thing. Somebody was gonna like, wait, are these new UCF? That as they're doing their ordering for, Dick's Sporting Goods is doing their order, and I don't know if they get like a little icon of it or something. Like, wait, is something changed here?
Yeah.
So,
I knew you had the mock-ups have the big.
Get out early.
What was that?
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, you're right. Usually most of like the NBA like special customs usually leak out like a few days before too. So.
Yeah.
Yes. I'd be curious, Jimmy. The Flow Grown partnership is like an interesting new one, pretty unique to UCF. Like, how do those other like non-Nike deals come about? I know there's always a lot of talk amongst the dungeon. Gus is a big Peter Millar guy in his like personal time, and like how or when do we potentially see like a Peter Millar or UCF partnership or other brands that want to kind of get in?
Peter Millar was supposed to be up in June, and so it should be any day now. So there is Peter Millar stuff coming.
That's a big scoop right there. People are going to be very excited about that.
That's a big scoop. It all goes through CLC, Collegiate Licensing Company. It is the licensees that that want to hold stuff. So, for example, like what happened with Peter Millar, because again, I explore these things too, and I see all sorts of. I see that they have FIU and FAMU, and I'm like, how the heck do they not have UCF? And so normally, you follow the money. So the bookstore used to carry Peter Millar, and they they held a UCF license. But then at some point, I guess the bookstore, I don't know if they went under new management or something, but they switched to more Tommy Bahama than Peter Millar. They bought that instead. So since the bookstore is no longer buying Peter Millar, Peter Millar dropped their license, is what I found out with that. So like those are like the examples of how things like that work. How sometimes we may have gear that other schools doesn't have, but then other schools have stuff that we don't have. But that one's being fixed.
Yeah, and we love the Tommy Bahama too. Those Hawaiian themed shirts have been really hot. I don't know if this like has trickled up to the athletic department, but on the dungeon. And if you saw like the local Costco's for a while had some like Hawaiian themed polos that they were selling just in the few in the area. And those were so hot in the dungeon that people were doing like big buys so that they could actually mail to people that lived out of the area because they couldn't get those anywhere else. So,
big scoop too. I don't know if you guys have been at Target lately. They've got a great floral Hawaiian black. It's different than because I actually bought both. I bought that was it from Costco or Sam's. I got that
Costco.
One. But then so Target has one now, $34. That's like a dry fit, kind of like Hawaiian polo, black with the the embroidered UCF logo on it. So
nice. There you go.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I don't know if that's hit social media. We're gonna have to go check that out. Well, Jimmy, I know you got a busy afternoon. I know there's a lot of stuff going on. You got the Charge on tour later tonight in downtown. You got Fan Fest tomorrow. Before we let you go, I think I understood you. Is there going to be a mock-up, a real sample of one of the combinations, maybe on display tonight, and will that also be there tomorrow for Fan Fest?
Yeah, I know it will be there tonight. It will be on a mannequin because the black and white jerseys, the ones of that O'Keefe and Selskar wearing, those are here. So we've got some have all, and the white ones are here, but our equipment staff now has to send them all off to put the nameplates. They're going to work now because they got to get the nameplates put on and all that sort of stuff. But yes, there will be the new classic black uniform will be there tonight. And I saw a question come through about the Big 12 patch. The Big 12 patch will not be on it this year.
Yeah, I was going to clarify that with you. Yeah, that's what I think it's kind of implied that, you're a proud member of the AAC for one more year, want to win one more conference championship, and nothing officially will be on the uniform until you're actually playing in the Big 12.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, thank you very much, Jimmy. This was a real pleasure getting able to chat with you. It's an exciting day as we get ready for the season. Just always kind of fun to talk about jerseys anyway, and kind of it builds to the excitement level. Just getting ready for a new year. Thank you very much for joining us, Jimmy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And again, this weekend kind of kicks things off. I mean, obviously fall camp's been going, but I know the downtown event is always good. It's kind of like that official start in August for the Charge on tour tonight at Aces Cafe, and then Fan Fest tomorrow. I know the players are ready to see other people besides like their team.
Right. So, and we haven't had a fan day since what, 2019?
2019. So how about this? Last fan day, you had Mackenzie Milton, Dylan Gabriel, Darren Mack, and Brandon Wimbush. That was the last. That was the last Fan Fest. Was because we were going through how the layout is set up, which we'll be putting out later today, so people know where the different stations will be, and because you split up like the quarterbacks table. And do you remember, Brandon? Do you remember who was at McKenzie's table? Was it McKenzie and Dylan?
Quite possibly. I need to go back and look at that. It was in the arena. I think that was that might have been the first year. It's in the arena again, which is optimal just because it's so hot doing it any time of day, even if it's in the concourse of the stadium. But yeah, probably so. Yeah.
Yeah, we were trying to remember of how, because our goal at that event is that everybody can at least get somebody's autograph. You may not be able to get the whole team's autograph, but if you're passionate about getting the quarterback's autograph, that you can wait in line and get that. And so we split up the quarterbacks based on, it's a choose your own adventure when you're going to fan day, trying to figure out who you're going to.
Before we let you go, someone's asking in the chat, which Target has the floor shirts? I know they're probably at multiple Targets, but you said you saw them. Which one did you see them at?
The one I got was Oviedo Target.
Okay.
But I know the one I saw it from someone else at work who got the one near Baldwin Park.
Okay.
And Fashion Square Mall.
Okay. So I'm sure they're just at various local Targets. You'll just have to, I guess, check on to see which ones have them. But once again, thank you very much, Skivvies. Jimmy, it's been fun talking to you. Maybe we'll do this sometime soon. And I'll see you later. I'll definitely, if not, I'll see you tomorrow at the Fan Fest.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Thank you, Jimmy. All right, John, that was a fun conversation. I was trying to wrap it up a little bit. I know he's got I think they have a group headed downtown. I think the formal event starts about 6:00, but I know they got to beat the traffic and everything to get down there. So to kind of wrap things up, to kind of put a final chapter on our conversation. Any final thoughts about today and maybe our conversation with Jimmy?
Yeah, and I think it's great. I mean, I mentioned on the spaces earlier. I think we're pretty lucky to have the administration and most of the folks in the content and the AD group to be so open and available. I'm so happy we're not at like a Penn State where they don't do anything exciting with uniforms, or they don't even talk about it. We're so lucky in terms of where we are. So excited about that. Great to hear Jimmy. Great to hear Eric in the group today. I'm excited about the year. As I mentioned on Twitter earlier, we have 27 possible combinations just from what was released today, plus the space unis. So if you do the math, even if you count bowl games, basically 26 games between the next 2 years. So we'll probably repeat some blackouts and all whites because that's pretty typical, but we'll probably never see the same combo over the life of these jerseys for the next 2 years. So that's exciting. And Brad mentioned on the spaces earlier too that last year we didn't go back-to-back weeks with the same decals. I'd imagine that's going to be the same this year as well. So a pretty new look almost every single week. So that'll be exciting. And it's going to be exciting. The other thing that I didn't see mentioned anywhere in print or in any of the mock-ups, just because of the way the mock-ups were, but as you remember, the old ones had the Rise and Conquer on the.
Yes. And that was a Frost Logan. That was he developed that, and they just kind of kept it, I know, but it was really a Frost thing.
Yeah, and I think it was either Brad or Jimmy said today, it's going to say "Go Knights, Charge On" in that new font on the inside of the collar as well. So a nice another little Easter egg for the jersey. So, and Terry also in his, I think they were joking that he was kind of had a little bit of loose lips on some of the top secret things on the call today. He did mention that I think new soccer kits, volleyball, and maybe probably basketball, amongst other, going to see some new releases here in the near future. So I'm all
I can't reveal one thing. They did not have a space themed basketball uniform this past year. They wanted to. They had a design. It was supply chain. It was getting the materials and getting everything made in time. But I am told that they will have a space theme uniform once more for basketball sometime coming up this season. I've heard that months ago, but I know some people probably have questions about that. Before we let you go, I think your kids are getting home from school. I know you got to get busy with that, but and it's going to be different because what we see in a rendering, maybe in real life, is going to have a different impact on what we think. But based on the three major versions that were put out today, what do you think is your favorite?
Ooh, good question. And Brad mentioned the new numbers this year, especially on the white and the black jersey, are like a double stitched embroidered. So they're going to have like a 3D effect to them. So that should really pop when we see them in person. So I'm excited to see that. I love the whites, both the all white and like the black look that we did in the Gasparilla Bowl against the Gators. I think that is probably one of the cleanest looks. So I'm excited to see that. And I hope we do a redo of the Peach Bowl look as well, because we obviously didn't repeat it in 2018 just because like the specialness of the Peach Bowl, and then we didn't have gold helmets for a couple of years, so we haven't repeated that one since the Peach Bowl. So hopefully with maybe a big game on the road sometime this year, we'll do a gold white. That would be good to see.
Well, it was a pleasure talking with you, John, and I know I've met you a few times before, but this has been fun discussing jerseys. We'll have to do it sometime again soon. I think we're going to do these on a semi-regular basis. Thanks for your time. Charge on, and thanks everyone who has tuned in over the last hour.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good weekend.